Let's have a look at the grid as these drivers get ready to roll for their first of 2 races here this weekend. Starting in row number 9 on the outside, Christian Bogle in the J. Howard Driver Development number 7 machine. He'll start 18th, alongside a driver making his debut for J. Howard, Ayrton Ori out of Orlando, Florida, in the number 77. Moving now to row number 8 on the outside, a local boy from Portland, Oregon in the number 73 for Newman Walks Racing. It's Kyle Dupel, his first start here in 2019 after a full season as a rookie last year. Great to have Kyle back with us, and again, a local boy out of Portland in the number 73. Inside of that row, starting in the 15th spot, another driver making his debut here this weekend in the USF2000 program in the number 5 machine from Mount Kisco, New York. It is Josh Green. Moving now to row number 7 on the outside from Palo Alto, California, 14 years of age for Newman Walks Racing. Nolan Siegel in the number 36 will start 14th. Alongside him, out of Indianapolis, Indiana, Jack William Miller in the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports number 40. Miller on the inside, Siegel on the outside. Moving to row number 6 now, from Greenfield, Indiana, in the Legacy Autosport number 14. He's got more speed than he showed here in qualifying. Watch for him to work his way forward. I'm talking about Zach Holden in the number 14 machine. He'll start in 12th. Alongside him, the only young lady we have this year in this Road to Indy program from Brazil, running for Pabst Racing, Bruna Tomaselli in the number 24, starting in 11th position. Work our way now into the top 10. Row number 5 on the outside, 14 years of age, out of Miami, also Puerto Rico. For Cape Motorsports, the number 3 of Reese Gold, starting in the 10th position. And on the inside, starting in 9th for D-Force Racing, Eduardo Barrichello, the rookie, in the number 91. We'll go now to row number 4 on the outside. For Pabst Racing, in the number 21 machine, it's Yuvan Sundaramurthy. He'll start on the outside, and on the inside for Cape Motorsports from Boca Raton, Florida, 3rd in points, already a race winner here this year, Darren Keene in the number 2, starting in 7th. We'll go now to row number 3 on the outside for D-Force Racing from Mexico. It's Manuel Suleiman in the number 12, and on the inside, 2 times a winner this year at Toronto and Mid-Ohio from Denmark for J. Howard Driver Development, Christian Rasmussen in the number 6, starting in the 5th position. Now up to row number 2, 3rd and 4th on the outside from Chicago, Illinois. The number 28 for Pabst Racing, the Slick Locks entry. It's Colin Kaminsky in the points hunt as well. Kaminsky in the number 23 starting 4th. And on the inside, just 14 years of age from Houston, Texas, a talented young driver running for Cape Motorsports. In the number 4, it's the rookie, Jack Crawford. On the front row, the 2 drivers really in the battle for this championship. On the outside, your point leader coming in. 5 wins earlier in the season from Ohio for Cape Motorsports in the number 8 machine. Off-pole sitter, Braden Eves will start 2nd, but the driver on the pole right now, the winner of the $200,000 scholarship from the shootout last November. He's from New Zealand. In the number 22, the Mazda Soul Red machine, battling out for a championship, Hunter McElroy in the number 22 for Pabst Racing, starting on the pole. McElroy and Eves on row 1. It's McElroy and Eves, and then it's going to be Crawford and Kaminsky on row 2. Rasmussen and Suleiman on row 3. Keene and Sundaramurthy on row 4. Barrichello and Gold on row 5. Tomaselli and Holden on row number 6. Miller and Siegel on row 7. It'll be Green and Dupel row 8. Ori and Bogle on row number 9. So ladies and gentlemen, we are set to go, just counting down the seconds before we fire up these drivers and get them underway. 18 pilots, the very start of this Road to Indy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get rolling here. On behalf of Cooper Tires and Allied Building Products, drivers, start your engines! I gotta go.
Rob Howden will make his way up and rejoin me here in our announce booth. Hunter McElroy, Braden Eves up on the front row, along with the rest of the USF 2000 cars, allowing those engines to warm up just a little bit, let them come up to temperature. Pace vehicle has been dispatched. We'll see them roll off shortly and make their way out onto the grid and warm up those tires and get those USF 2000 machines ready for action here this afternoon. Hunter McElroy on the pole position. You see him rolling off along with the rest of the competitors. Braden Eves. It is a tight championship battle between those two. And Darren Keene is not out of the hunt either, running in 3rd place. But it is a 9-point gap right now that Braden Eves holds over Hunter McElroy, who will also start on the pole for tomorrow's race in the USF 2000. series here and the part of the Grand Prix of Portland at Portland International Raceway. Looks like we've got one car that is still sitting on the grid. The team runs out right now. That's Ayrton Ori. Does get moving as well. There we are. Now everyone is rolling out onto the grid. They'll make their way around. You'll notice a little weaving back and forth, getting those tires up to temperature, getting all the fluids up to temperature. Pace car out in front of the field right now as they get set to go racing for 25 laps or 40 minutes. And that is a lot of time for these drivers out on course. Rob Howden, who has rejoined me now, there will be a lot of action as we have seen throughout this day today.
You know, the one thing I'm always worried about is that opening corner, right? You just know that this is going to be exciting coming through what we're now calling the Shelton Curve, formerly the Festival Curve, but the Shelton Curve will be a key part of this racetrack. And the very opening lap, the opening corner, I don't care which race we're talking about, that is really where everything settles in. And we're hoping that these drivers are able to get through. It's such an enticing corner because you're so wide coming in. You can really take a bunch of different lines coming in, but it funnels down so much. And especially with the runoff there, if you do make a mistake, you can go through the runoff, but you're going to lose lots of time.
And you don't want to lose those positions, especially in the opening part of the race, because it is so difficult to make up the track position as well. PIR is a very difficult place to pass. There are only a couple of opportunities, and if you put yourself back in the race early in the going, that makes your job that much more difficult.
Primary championship challenges on the front row. Hunter McElroy, P2 in the title. He'll start P1. He'll lead the field down. Braden Eves on the outside. Jack Crawford and Colin Kaminsky on row number 2. Field set, folks. We're going racing here with USF2000. Great pace being laid down by McElroy. Waiting for the flag to go. I like the way the start is. We're underway. Green, green, green. To the bottom goes McElroy. He'll try to hold that position down to the inside. Good shot here. They're going to come through. Who gets through cleanly? Good for the first 5 or 6 cars. Couple drivers up and over top of the curb. One of them being the 36 of Nolan Siegel. You can't go to the inside and over top of the curb. It's just too heavy, too high on that one side. So the AMR safety crew roll. I'm not sure if we have one car in trouble, but otherwise everyone getting away cleanly. Nolan Siegel in that 36 got pushed off to the racetrack and instead tried to come over top of the curbing. That simply does not work. Out front, McElroy goes to the early lead. Second spot is your point leader, Braden Eves. Third, I believe, is Kaminsky in the 23. I'll have to figure out whether it's the 8 of Eves into second or it could be Crawford in the number 4 as well. Those cars, very similar liveries. We'll see what they look like as they come by. Hard to try to pick up a number there. I think that maybe Eves into second, Crawford potentially back into the 4th spot. Crawford getting pressured aggressively from behind as well. That could be Rasmussen. Driver off. We have a driver spinning. Coming through turn number 10, 11, and 12. A driver spinning into the grass, able to continue. Another driver falling off the track as well. I think that might have been Siegel going off back there. So a little bit of chaos early, further back in the field. Battle definitely for 4th and 5th. That's Crawford and Kaminsky battling it out. Yuvan Sundaramurthy, I think, in the number 21, the driver potentially going off track, but coming back on. Nolan Siegel, after the trip to the inside of turn number 1 and 2 up over the curb, may have damaged the car. We'll see if he's able to get back around. He went off over in turn number 9 and 10. Siegel just getting that car refired. He'll come back across the grass now. Indeed, Nolan Siegel coming back out onto the racetrack. Hopefully he'll get things set in. It'll be a good practice session here for Nolan, unless we go full course yellow. Otherwise, the opening couple laps, decent thus far. McElroy, Eves, Rasmussen, Crawford, and Kaminsky your top 5. Suleiman goes into 6th. Aaron Keane 7th. Zach Holden up to 8th. Eduardo Barrichello 9th. And Reese Gold going into the top 10. There is the initial lineup, Todd, as they got things underway.
McElroy and Eves maintaining their 1-2 spots from the start of this race, but a nice game from Christian Rasmussen to jump up from 5th at the start, making his way through the Shelton chicane and the first couple of corners and surviving. That was what you needed to do. Get through clean and then now be able to look at the leaders and see if you can run them down.
The thing about that corner is if you're on the inside and you're able to get around the corner and stay maybe more to driver's right before you get to turn number 2, a lot of the chaos will happen on the inside of the track. Drivers trying to get in there tight, and Rasmussen kind of ran the outside. When you do that, you may lose a little bit of ground, but you're going to be the first driver over to turn number 3 and then to 4. key opportunity for Rasmussen. And again, he took full advantage of it. He goes into the third spot. One driver dropping a wheel further back. We'll try to pick up the number on that car. I think is Reese Gold in the number 10 dropping a wheel, battling it out now with Barrichello and Tomaselli. That turn 6, a bit of an off-camber corner, 6 and 7. That kind of catches them out a little bit. Here they come down the back straight. There's your leader, first, second, and third. Fourth, that's Kaminsky. Fifth is Crawford. Sixth, Suleiman. Seventh is Darren Keene. Drivers coming through turns 10 and 11 and 12. They'll roll back out here, get all that speed spooled up for the run down the straightaway here at Portland. Opening race of USF2000. Of course, our first Indy Lights race going in the books earlier today. 3 for 3 so far this weekend for Rinus VK. 2 poles and a race win. Let's see who's able to get the job done here. He won from pole, and Hunter McElroy looking to follow suit. He has a pretty nice little lead of about 7/10 of a second over Braden Eves in the championship. And if we look at the points as they run, McElroy would take over the point lead by 1 marker. That's how close it is here. Hunter McElroy would be 1 point ahead of Braden Eves. You go back to Colin Kaminsky. Actually, you'll go back to Darren Keene with 2:14, and then Colin Kaminsky with 2:07 behind Rasmussen with 2:12. We'll end up having 3 drivers, 3rd, 4th, and 5th within 5 points.
That's the kind of championship that you wanted. Now we're getting to the point of the race. We've completed 3 laps. The field's starting to string out just a little bit, and there's when the drivers, these young drivers, are starting to learn that racecraft is an important part. It's about being consistent. It's about understanding the driver is in front of you and also running smoother through the corners and picking up a little extra speed to run down that driver ahead of you.
One of the great experience parts about the race, of course, the car's never really good over the first 5 laps. The setup, the tire pressures aren't set to make the car easy to drive over the first 5 to 10 laps. You want that car to come in, especially over a 25-lap race. Let's have that thing coming in around lap 12, 13, and 14. It's now when the drivers have to be able to hold onto the car and really kind of get up and grip it and move it forward based using their feet as opposed to using the setup. So all that input, whether it's steering wheel input, throttle, or brake input, that's what the drivers have in their hands and their feet to be good early. The car's definitely going to come to them, but you got to be fast here when it's not quite so perfect. Watching some of these lap times get laid down. Most drivers mid to high 112s. That's what they'll be looking for. Tomaselli just laid a 112.9 down. She's 10th. She's trying to close up here a little bit on Eduardo Barrichello. So Bruna Tomaselli, the number 24 for Pabst Racing, working forward here. Bruna qualified 11th, kind of held station, got a spot early. Everyone back underway. Outside the top 10, Reese Gold runs 11th. Josh Green in the number 5 in 12th. Kyle Dupel 13th. Christian Bogle 14th. Ayrton Orion 15th spot. Jack William Miller 16th. Sudhir Murli 17th. And Siegel, after the issues early, in 18th position.
Hunter McElroy doing exactly what he needs to do, starting to stretch out that lead just a little bit through the first 5 laps on Braden Eves. Not quite a second yet, about 0.8 of a second. And there's also a little bit of a gap to Christian Rasmussen, who is running 3rd. But he's close to Braden Eves as well. Those 3 cars, they're still running not exactly nose to tail, but well within striking distance as the handling of the cars begins to improve as the race moves along.
Most definitely, Todd. Looking at the times, a 1:12.3 for McElroy. He's about 0.2 quicker than Eves. Eves about 0.2 quicker than Rasmussen. Rasmussen, Kaminsky, and Crawford all pretty much the same lap times. They all did 1:12.7s last time by, and that's 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But Rasmussen has that big gap. 2.5 seconds back to the battle between Kaminsky and Crawford. Suleiman just a half a second back. Darren Keene right there as well in the number 2 for Cape Motorsports. Again, trying to find some of the quicker times further down. Who's dropping into the 112s? Josh Green, rookie driver, coming out of the F1600 program. Green in the number 5 turns a 112.9 quicker than the drivers in front of him. 112.8 for Barrichello as well. So Eduardo Barrichello in the D-Force Racing entry, the number 91, putting a good run in here early. Consistent lap times, though, for Hunter McElroy. He's pulled a full second now on Braden Eves. And you'll see the top times start to change, or the points start to change, because you get a bonus point in this category for fast lap of the race. We don't offer that in Indy Lights because these cars don't have the push to pass. They don't have the fast lap of the race in Indy Lights because you don't want the race winner who never gets a chance to use that offensive push to pass. That's obviously an advantage for people behind him getting that bonus point. So they scrap that bonus point, but it is up for grabs here. And as it goes back and forth between Hunter McElroy, it's either going to be a 1 point or a 3 point lead. McElroy now with fast lap of the race, the point lead that he will take, should they finish as they run now, would be 3 points.
All the cars in the Road to Indy ladder system look very similar. These, though, the least sophisticated of the cars, the USF2000, the Pro 2000, then, of course, the Indy Light's a little more sophisticated, but all with front and rear wings. These ones just don't have the same aerodynamic downforce and all of the other options on the cars, as you mentioned, with the push to pass in the Indy Light series. But this is about driver development and learning to drive that car, and you're improving your racecraft, and that's the first technique you need to master.
If you're coming out of the F1600 Championship Series or one of those, open wheel wingless cars, it's your first opportunity to run, number one, the horsepower amount, 180 horsepower. You've also got bigger brakes, a little more downforce with the aerodynamics, the front and rear wing. It's the same chassis, the same tub that we use for USF 2000 is what we use in the PM18 in the Indy Pro 2000 category, except for we put way more downforce on the car. We give it another 100 horsepower, bigger brakes, bigger tires, more of pretty much everything, as I said. But as you mentioned, it's a driver development program. These kids are coming out of karting. They're coming out of F4. They're coming out of F1600. Perfect car for them to work with now. A very high-quality car. Tatis builds a really beautiful machine, and it gives them the opportunity to run at this speed. Now, they're going to go 4 or 5 seconds faster in Indy Pro, but this is the perfect level. And Oliver Askew mentioned this to us in one of the interviews that we did, that he believed that because he's been at all the levels, he believes that the levels he's run, remember, he tested here, Oliver Askew did, for Chip Ganassi Racing in the IndyCar. Every level, he said, is just that perfect amount of more moving their way up. And he was, and again, he's the guy that would be the one to say that because he's driven all the cars. When you've talked to a guy like Spencer Piggott, he drove the older USF 2000 car, the older Pro Formula Mazda. Oliver's input so exact on exactly from his own personal standpoint what's able to get done.
Holding station up at the front of the field, Hunter McElroy, Braden Eves running 1 and 2. Christian Rasmussen rounds out the top 3. Kaminsky and Crawford finish out the top 5. And the gap still within striking distance. In fact, Brandon Eves has shortened it up just a little bit. It was nearly a full second behind Hunter McElroy, and now it's just about 3/4 of a second. Again, we're 8 laps in, and the car will start to feel a little bit better to these drivers now as we reach the midway point of the race.
As they run on the racetrack right now, it'll be Darren Keene third in points with 214. Christian Rasmussen fourth with 212, and Colin Kaminsky in fifth with 207 points. Looking at Braden Eves trying to reel that leader back in. Last time by, they were very similar lap times, a 1:12.4, a 1:12.5. Actually, the top 3, Rasmussen's been the quickest driver over the last couple of laps. This time, McElroy does it again. He lays down at 1:12.023. See if we're going to get into the 111s here pretty soon. McElroy showing some pretty good pace here. Driver from New Zealand trying to win yet another race. Took him all the way to Road America before he was able to get his first win of the season. I think I weighed on him a little bit mentally. He told us he's just not used to waiting that long. He's used to winning races, and a little bit of an issue for him. Tough for him not to have the pace he was hoping for early. And he did have the pace, but not able to get the results he wanted coming out of the gates. But once he won at Road America, kind of the floodgates opened. He won at Mid-Ohio as well, and looks to try to do the same thing here at Portland.
Amazing how much more relaxed you'll feel once you get that burden off your back and understand, okay, I understand what I'm doing. I do have the capabilities to win. This is part of what the drivers are learning now as well. You mentioned that the times are within a couple of tenths of one another. It's about running consistently. It's not having one lap at a minute 12 and then another at a minute 15 or 16. It's about running that consistent speed throughout the 25-lap race.
And they learn that when they're karting as well. That's one of the things that drivers will do, of course. In karting, even though it's a more rudimentary machine, it's just the chassis, the tires, and the engine itself. We don't have any aerodynamics. There's bodywork, but there's no real aerodynamics. We do have the onboard computer, and the drivers are able to see. They're able to go over all their throttle traces, brake traces, but primarily, number one, for consistency, they're able to see all their lap times, and the key is to just bang out those consistent lap times, and you do that by hitting your marks every lap after lap, just getting the job done every time. Good battle further back for the 15th position. Christian Bogle and Ayrton Orey are scrapping it out nicely there. Bogle was able to get back by. Orey had made the move earlier, but Bogle now running 15th. Ayrton Orey in 16th. Yuvan Sundaramurthy, who had that off over in turn number 12, he and Nolan Siegel continue to run. 10 laps down, 15 laps still to go here in USF2000. Just 3 more races still to go after this, and this championship is most definitely up for grabs. This one's going to go down to the final race, I believe, at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on that September 20 to 22 weekend. We're not done at all. Love this scrap, though, as well. A little further back, as you see them coming down the front straightaway here, we got a good group of drivers. That is going to be 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, I believe. No, make that, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Crawford, Kaminsky, Suleiman, and Keene running nose to tail. Not that far back to Zach Holden, who's closing up on them. He's been quicker than both of them. Crawford and Kaminsky going at it for the position. Crawford goes back to P4 on that last lap. You can see him leading. And then, look, there's 3 drivers just wringing their hands trying to get in there. Zach Holden, Eduardo Barrichello, and Bruno Tomaselli all love the fact that they're battling it out for 4th. They want more side-by-side action, please. When you start battling like that, the lap times, of course, fall. You lose the pace, and you can see how they're closing up in a big way. Zach Holden in the number 14 in the 8th position. 2/10 quicker than Darren Keene last time by. We may have ourselves a 6-driver battle, 4th all the way back to 10th. Tomaselli trying to spool things up as well. There's that gap coming through. Just watch how they flick those cars through. These Tatis USF17s, very, very nimble. And as they come through, every driver will tell me it's just a quick flick and then back at it. And then once you come, so it's a flick through 9, a flick through 10. As you come through 10, the car takes that set. You want it to get down on the shock, take that set so the shocks will compress. Then you can start getting back on the brakes because you have to have the car set where you need before you get the brakes to go to 11, then back on the throttle through 11 and 12.
Just watching that group of cars come through corner number 1 as well, some becoming a little more aggressive than others, starting to ride the curbing just a little bit more, trying to make up that little bit of ground, get a little closer, and perhaps getting a sniff a lap or 2 from now and an opportunity to move forward in a position.
It looked to me like Kaminsky may have just missed the apex a little bit. He was a little wide coming into the corner. It means he's got to drop some more speed to get around turn number 2. That's why Suleiman has closed back up on his gearbox as well. Manuel Suleiman in the D-Force racing machine. Darren Keene in the number 2, the Cape Motorsports entry, fully ready to take advantage of that. He's been able to build his gap. Here's a side-by-side battle further back. That's Holden and Barrichello. Side-by-side down the back straightaway. Holden's going to hold them off as they come in to turn 9 and 10. Man, Eduardo Barrichello, I've done that before this year already. Eduardo Barrichello, this is the best I've seen him run all year. He started the season with a different team, has moved to D-Force Racing, and he's really starting to settle in there now, getting real racy, trying to find a way by Holden.
And that's what you expect to see in this series. The USF2000 is the driver improvement throughout, and we're witnessing it as the challenges continue.
Barrichello to the inside, book it. He takes the spot away. Barrichello to the inside of 1. Move him to P8 as he's able to get to the inside of Zach Holden. That's opening the door, of course, for Tomaselli because with the inside move there, Holden had to get off the throttle a little bit. Tomaselli able to take the corner as usual. She closes right up now on the gearbox of Zach Holden. Tremendous racing outside this top 3.
That's what we've talked a little bit about this weekend, is this track being a rhythm track. And now if you're passing the midway point of this race, you should be in a rhythm. But when you lose a position or you're battling for position, it's easy to get out of that rhythm, and you need to find it back as quickly as you can.
Indeed, great point. Because when you find yourself, when you're scrapping, you're not running the race line. You're more in the middle of a boxing match where you're just kind of battling back and forth. You're reacting to what the other driver's doing, and you get yourself out of that rhythm. You start missing apexes. You're on the throttle too early. You're thinking more about the overtake or the defense than you are actually running a good lap. Leaders working their way across the line again. 2 seconds now the lead for Hunter McElroy. Here comes that battle, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 8th, 9th, and 10th, not that far back. 11th and 12th coming up as well. That's Reese Gold and Josh Green. Kudos to Josh Green for Jay Howard Motors driver development. His first race, and really impressing here in that number 5. Josh Green, trying the experience he's gained this year, and then we'll have the offseason to kind of let that all kind of percolate a little bit, let it sit on it a bit, do some more testing, and then come back to St. Petersburg for the street race in March. A brand new driver. And that's interesting, Todd, as we're kind of in the midway here, 11 laps to go. A lot of the drivers come midway through the season, and I try to sit down with them a little bit, and they talk about I ask them about the expectations they first had, and they may be coming out of karting, whatever it may be, and they expect that they want to run in the top 5. And I'll say to them for this year, I would say, do you think that the 2020 Reese Gold will be able to beat the 2019 Reese Gold? And of course, they say, yeah, me next year would beat me now easily. Well, I said, that's what you're doing. You're already battling against the guy who's got a full year. You're battling against the guy who's the 2019 version of who he was in 2018. That little kind of light goes off. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. They have a full year of experience. And it's only a year of experience, but when you get them to personalize that, it's like, wow, I'm going to be a totally different driver when I come back to St. Pete next March.
It's just a reminder of what the series purpose is, which is driver development, driver improvement. Through each weekend, throughout the season, you can notice the improvements. And Eduardo Barrichello, as we were watching earlier, is a perfect example of that. His growth and maturity has been evident this season.
I asked Yuvan Sundaramurthy. We did a Cooper Tire Q&A today with all the Pabst Racing drivers, and I asked him, how much do you think you have grown, and how much different are you when you ran at St. Petersburg? And he looked at me and said, at St. Petersburg, I was terrified. And it was a street course. He'd never run one before. He did one USF2000 race before. He had a number of races in an F1600, but he was terrified. And Yuvan's put in some great races already this year, and his growth has been amazing. I think Hunter McElroy's kind of been a bit of a mentor for him. Hunter's 20 years old, Yuvan just 16, and that whole team at Pabst is a very tight unit, all 4 of those drivers. But Yuvan said, he goes, when I go back next year, I'm super excited because I think I'm going to be really strong next year.
That's understandable. We have been green since the start of this race. 9 laps remaining now, 16 laps down. It has been just the one leader of Hunter McElroy, who started on the pole. Braden Eves, who he is trying to catch in the championship, is running in second. Christian Rasmussen with a nice jump at the start of this race to move up from 5th to 3rd. Crawford and Kaminsky round out the top 5.
A really good battle on the racetrack right now between number 12, Manuel Suleiman, and the number 2 of Darren Keene. Darren has been doing everything he can to try to get by, and he just hasn't been able to pull the trigger yet. And that's actually allowing Eduardo Barrichello to close up. So the 2 D-Force drivers kind of sandwiching Darren Keene now. Keene, I think, is quicker than Suleiman, but he just can't quite find a way by. Let's see if he's able to finally pull the trigger when they work their way down into turn number 1 again. The thing about this racetrack is if you run that defensive line into 1, it's hard. It's not like you don't get that risk reward. You don't get penalized on the exit because that's turn 2 is such a slow corner. It penalizes both of the drivers and allows the guys behind to get closer. Let's have a look as they come down the straightaway here again. Not sure if Keene's quite close enough. There's drivers further back: Tomaselli, Holden, Gold. Indeed, Darren Keene within a couple of car lengths, but Suleiman, he's 4/10 off of that of Crawford and Kaminsky. They're stretching away. Keene last time by, not this one, was 4/10 faster than Suleiman. So Keene definitely getting held up. But this track is extremely hard to pass on. You have to be able to get through the 9, 10, 11, 12 complex if you want to get the pass done in 1. And as I said, then you run the defensive line and the driver's going to have trouble getting by you.
Starting to see a couple of puffs of smoke as drivers will lock up a wheel coming through a corner around the track. You mentioned that at the start of the race, the car is not in the optimal driving position because tire pressures aren't up and the handling is a little bit different. You get that way through the midpoint of the race. The car continues to evolve as you burn off fuel and the weight balance changes. We'll again get to a point near the end of this race where the handling may not be exactly perfect for these drivers.
And again, that's what I like. I want the tires to go off a little bit at the end so these drivers have to learn. Here's that battle here as they work their way onto the front straightaway. That's Crawford and Kaminsky. I think Colin Kaminsky's been able to get by Jack Crawford, move Kaminsky to P4. And Keene's going to go to the outside as well for Suleiman. They'll work their way down to the 1. Keene to the outside. Can't quite get it done. Crisscrossing at a 2. Darren Keene putting the pressure on Suleiman. But Manuel running that slow defensive line down the inside. It's going to allow Barrichello to keep closing up. You can actually see Suleiman and Keene were a bit closer to Kaminsky and Crawford last time by because when Kaminsky made the pass, balked him up a little bit, that's allowed Suleiman to close back up on Crawford. Really good fight. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. 8th place is Barrichello. Then we have that fight for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's Tomaselli in the black 24 for Pabst Racing. Zach Holden in the 14 for Legacy Autosport. The number 3 for Reese Gold from Cape. And Josh Green in the J. Howard Driver Development number 5. Kyle Dupel's worked his way up into the 13th spot. He's in the middle of a fight here with Jack William Miller. Couple of battles going on. Crawford and Kaminsky. Keen and Suleiman. Holden not able to get back around to get to Thomas Elliott either. But Josh Green definitely lining up Reese Gold coming down the straightaway here. Keen's going to see if he can't get around again. There's Darren Keen right there with Suleiman. I think Josh Green thinking about making a move by Reese Golden, a D to the inside. Book it. He's through. Josh Green now up into 11th. An impressive debut for the young driver out of Mount Kisco, New York. Green in the number 5.
That's a good example of the pass you talked about, going through the back part of the course through 7, 8, 9, 10, and making sure that you are in position to complete that pass at corner number 1 and then get back in line so that you can resume the optimal racing line and keep that competitor behind you.
Good pass for Josh Green. Pretty much textbook going into the Shelton curve, or Shelton chicane, rather. McElray and Eves first and second, but the gap now 4 seconds for Hunter McElray as he looks to grab another victory here, coming off a win at Mid-Ohio. He will take a point lead as they run on the racetrack. McElray will take that lead by 3 points over Eves, unless Eves is able to drop a fast time down here. Here comes Darren Keen. This could get interesting because Suleiman's starting to close up as well on Jack Crawford. Keen right up on the gearbox. Let's see if he makes a move to the inside this time into 1. He does. Down to the inside, little side-by-side action. Book it. Great pass for Darren Keen. Showed a lot of patience there. The defensive line from Suleiman did not allow it to happen, but finally able to get a good run. Dove to the inside. And you know what? I'm going to give some props to Suleiman as well. He had lost the position and probably could have tried to force the issue diving to the apex of turn number 2, and that would have just taken both cars out.
Exactly what I was just going to mention is that you have to understand when a driver does come up the inside you and have the line, if you turn in, you may prevent him from continuing and taking the position, but you may also take both of you out of the race.
A line I like to use is if you own the apex, you own the exit. So a driver on the inside, if they've got the apex on you, they can essentially go deeper into the corner. They don't need to turn. It's up to them when they want to make that corner. 5 laps to go here for Hunter McElray, leading the way over Braden Eves. Christian Rasmussen continues to close on Eves as well, only a half a second back. We may see a battle here between Rasmussen and Eves, and that would be tough for Braden in terms of the championship. He's trying to hold on. They're only a couple car lengths apart. They've got a big gap back to Kaminsky of almost 10 seconds. Jack Crawford going to watch out for his teammate Darren Keen. That's for the final position in the top 5. Keen's got a good car. Finally able to get by Suleiman. And we'll see if we get a battle there between those two Cape Motorsports drivers for 5th. Barrichello, we'll see if he's able to close up. I think he'll probably start putting some pressure on his D-Force teammate as well. Eduardo in the number 91 was able to close up. That's 2nd and 3rd coming by you. Again, we'll say hello to those of you who have tuned into the Road to Indy TV app on your mobile device, potentially watching online, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or roadindy.tv. We welcome you to the coverage here from Portland International Raceway, the 2nd of 6 races here in the Road to Indy. We'll have the drivers in Indy Pro 2000 to cap off the day. They'll be up next. Championships most definitely tight in these 2 categories. Not so in Indy Lights, as even with Rinus VK's win today, Oliver Askew in such a good position to win that Indy Lights championship. Oh, Christian Rasmussen.
He is getting closer. Yeah. He's not quite in the position to make the pass on this lap, but you can see he has improved his position and he has gotten a little closer now. 0.4 of a second is the gap. Sawed off 1/10 on that lap. With 3 laps remaining, there should still be another opportunity for Rasmussen to gain that 2nd spot on the podium.
And I think the key is that Christian's not out of the championship yet. It's a long shot, but he's not out of the championship. As they run on the racetrack right now, he's 64 points back, so he's trying to get as much as he possibly can. As we have drivers contact. One driver off the track. Not sure if it was contact or not, but that's one of the Legacy Autosport cars. I think it might have been Ayrton Ori who went off. Not sure if it was with Holden, but it was definitely one of the Legacy Autosport cars. As they come back around, we'll be able to update you for you. You can see the drivers flicking their way through 9, 10, and 11. Oh, what a great battle right now. That is 2nd place running Braden Eves and 3rd place Christian Rasmussen. One driver heading down into pit lane now. That's Ayrton Ori. So indeed it was Ori in the number 77 with the issue for Legacy Autosport.
Rasmussen takes another 1/10 of a second out of Braden Eves in that second place, and he's getting closer as they make their way through the the Shelton chicane as well. So there will be a battle for that second spot before this lap is over.
This is one of the times you can probably stop talking about actual time. It's just more, they're a car length apart because they're that close. We normally follow the splits and tell you if they're getting closer and closer. Not a good run there through turn number 6, though. Through 7 now. Rasmussen had a bit of trouble through 6, a little entry over or understeer rather. The car pushed wide on him, and that's going to give a little bit of breathing room with 2 to go for Braden Eves, who's desperately trying to hold on to second. He's lost his championship lead. He had such a great start to the season, winning 5 races, but just has not had that kind of winning pedigree here for after the second half of the season, and he's having to hold off a determined Rasmussen now. Hunter McElroy rolls onto the front straightaway. Believe we'll see the white flag this time by. Indeed, the white flag flying at start-finish. McElroy for Pabst Racing trying to take over the point lead. Clean through the Shelton chicane. Eves able to defend as well. Final time through at speed. Darren Keen's been able to stretch away from his teammate Jack Crawford. In fact, Keen 3/10 quicker than Colin Kaminsky. I think if Keen had a couple more laps, he may be able to go after Kaminsky. He was actually fastest of the 3 drivers in front of him. Eves, Rasmussen, and Kaminsky. Keen quicker. Final time through this 6, 7, 8 complex, though, for Hunter McElroy in the number 22. We had talked about this earlier, Todd. He told me when I asked him about how the car felt that it was just fun to drive. And I said 9 out of 10 times when a driver's saying the car is fun to drive, he's going to drive it into the podium. And that's what's happening right now. Hunter McElroy will work through the final couple corners of the racetrack, clean and green through 9 and 10. Out of 11, he'll roll back into the throttle here in his USF2000 car. It has been a strong second half of the season. He will take over the point lead, the winner in round number 1 here in Portland. Hunter McElroy for Pabst Racing. Big victory from pole position. Max points, and he will take a 3-point lead into Sunday's races. Braden Eves able to hold back Christian Rasmussen, so he limits the damage there. But Eves, who led for the entire first 7 or 6 weekends of the series, loses the lead in the opening round here at Portland. 279 points for Hunter McElroy, 276 points for Braden Eves. Christian Rasmussen now actually into the 4th spot in points. Darren Keen comes home in 5th. He was 7/10 of a second quicker than Colin Kaminsky on that last lap. Keen needed 2 more laps, and we were going to see a battle for P4. But here's your top 10. Hunter McElroy, P1. Braden Eves in 2nd. Christian Rasmussen 3rd. Colin Kaminsky in 4th. Darren Keen, an impressive run, getting by both Suleiman and Crawford in the final 5 laps. He ends up P5. Jack Crawford, the young 14-year-old from Texas, 6th spot. Manuel Suleiman in 7th. Eduardo Barrichello in 8th. Bruno Tomaselli in 9th. And Zach Holden rounding out the top 10. Well done for Josh Green as well. Started 15th, his rookie race debut here in USF2000. He's able to work his way up into 11th and turned really good lap times. If you look, Josh Green, that last lap, the same speed as Christian Rasmussen in 3rd. So a really good run to P11 for Josh Green.
There's a lot of drivers that can take some positives out of this. Christian Rasmussen, who started in 5th and jumped up a couple of spots and managed to hold on to it, even challenging for the 2nd spot on the podium. Colin Kaminsky, who lost a number of positions in the early going. We had that big bunch up going through the Shelton chicane at the start of the race, but managed throughout the 25-lap event to claw his way back. Nice run for Eduardo Barrichello, and Bruno Tomaselli as well also picks up a couple of spots.
We never want to jinx it, Todd, but green to checker. No yellow flags, and that's one of the things we always hope for USF2000. These are the youngest drivers on the road to Indy. We want them to get the most laps they possibly can. That's exactly our concept. Get as many laps as you can. No yellow flags, and we got that. Green to checker. Congratulations, of course, to McElroy, Eves, and Rasmussen, the drivers who will head to the podium today.
Yes, we'll have more racing coming up. We'll see the podium ceremonies for the USF2000 championship coming up. Was going to wrap up. The Indy Pro 2000 race will finish our on-track activity today. Green to checkers without any incidents. We were happy about that in just about 30 minutes of actual racing. But even though there wasn't a pass for elite, there was a lot of passing and movement throughout the field. A total of 61 passes through that race in 30 minutes is a lot of activity opportunity for those drivers.
This track is very difficult to pass on, but you can make passes. We saw it in turn 1. We saw it over in 3. We saw it in turn number 9 into that hard 9, into 9, 10, 11. You can get passes done here. You just have to set them up a long time before, and that's what we saw. We saw some great passes. Darren Keene, of course, was the driver on the move at one point, did a tremendous job working his way back past both Suleiman and Crawford in the late going. Great run for USF2000. I like a nice clean and green race. They're all driving their cars back to pit lane. An easier night for the mechanics as well, and they'll do it again. Essentially 24 hours time is they'll be the final, I think the final series on track tomorrow after the Portland Grand Prix.
That is correct. That will be the final race tomorrow afternoon, the USF2000 race number 2. It will be the Indy Pro 2000 race that also comes up at approximately 3:10 tomorrow afternoon. That will wrap up Sunday's action. We still have much more to come on Saturday with the Indy Pro 2000 race that will join us, get going in about 20 minutes or so time. We'll pick up the podium ceremonies for the USF2000 race as well. Hunter McElrea, who takes the victory, going from pole position to the checkered flag in a completely green flag event, never surrenders the lead to Brandon Eves. He did get close to him a little bit early on. He had the lead down to about 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second, but Hunter McElrea maintained a consistent pace throughout the entire race and managed to hold off any real challenges and got better as the race went along. In fact, Braden Eves was fighting off a challenge from Christian Rasmussen, who had a nice gain at the start of that race and picked up a couple of positions and challenged for second, had a shot at maybe taking over that second spot later on in the race, but then it was Braden Eves who managed to hold on. It will tighten up and switch up the championship. As Rob was telling us, Hunter McElrea will take over the championship lead and Braden Eves will slip back into second. Darren Keene will maintain his third spot, and these drivers will race again tomorrow afternoon in race number 2. It will be a similar start to the race in that it is Hunter McElrea and Braden Eves that will occupy starting positions 1 and 2 for tomorrow afternoon's race as well. USF 2000 race will wrap up tomorrow. It is the Indy Pro 2000 series that will wrap up things today. One more race to go. Stingray Rob will be on the pole. Kyle Kirkwood, who is what appears to be on his way to a championship in the Indy Pro 2000 series, perhaps because he has been on a roll. It is Rasmus Lind that is the current leader, but it is Kyle Kirkwood who has really been pushing and on a roll and is poised to perhaps take over that championship lead. It is going to be exciting to watch. Artem Petrov will line up third. Parker Thompson will line up fourth in the Pro 2000 race. Going to be an interesting one. Please remember to make sure that you are following us on our social media channels for all kinds of information and lots more to come as well for you here at the Grand Prix of Portland. Following us along on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at Portland_GP, and make sure you're using the hashtag PortlandGP. On Instagram as well, you can get all sorts of exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Follow us on Twitter at Portland_GP, and of course you can check out our Facebook page as well for news and information and contests, Portland-GP on Facebook. We have had 2 terrific days. Day number 2 still has one more race to go with the Indy Pro 2000 race that will come up in about 15 or 20 minutes time, and then tomorrow we get going early once again. Racing action right off the start tomorrow. If you're planning on joining us, please be here early. The gates will open up at 8:15. Our first race of the day will be the MX5 Cup race. That will kick off the action tomorrow morning at 8:30. We'll follow it up with race number 2 in the Indy Lights series. We have had a perfect weekend in the Indy Lights Championship as well. It has been Rinus VeeKay who has been perfect, scoring the pole in race number 1 and racing to victory. He will start on the pole for tomorrow's Indy Lights race as well at 9:35, still with hopes of trying to run down Oliver Askew and maybe give him a championship fight as they head to the final 2 races of the season in 3 weeks' time. The Stadium Super Truck Series race number 2 will go tomorrow. They had the crowd on their feet. It was electric inside, and they will put on another show tomorrow beginning at 10:55, race number 2 for the Stadium Super Trucks. The NTT Indy.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International. Perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The race truck is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
For 15 seasons, the Castrol Toyota Racing Series.
Road to Indy 101.
Every race weekend, the drivers in the 3 levels of the Road to Indy compete for poles, race wins, and championship glory. The one thing these drivers don't want to think about is a crash and what happens afterwards. Luckily for us, we have the support of the AMR safety team. This weekend, we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at this specialized unit. All right, we're here with Tim Bachman, the Director of Track Safety with the AMR safety team. Tim, we're standing in front of one of your trucks here. Can you maybe give us a brief overview of what it is that the AMR safety team does?
Well, sure. Hi, Dalton. How you doing?
Thanks for having us.
So we take 16 folks to every IndyCar event, including all the Road to Indy events. Each truck is staffed with a crew leader, a paramedic firefighter, and 2 rescue technicians. This is very similar to what we do as firefighters and paramedics out on the street, but it happens a lot faster. It happens right in front of us. We don't have a 911 call and then a delayed response. We're there in seconds. A lot of times there's a demand to get us off the track and get the driver into a safe position, whether it's off the track or if they're injured, to the hospital. And our goal is to do that within 2 minutes. And that happens a lot faster than what it even happens out on the street when we're doing our normal job. So,
what are the bigger challenges that you guys face?
If there's an opportunity to save a life, a driver is seriously injured, we know that we only have a very small window of opportunity to get them out of the car, get them to the hospital, whether it's by helicopter or by ambulance, and do that in as short a time as possible, where they can actually truly have surgery and take care of what's going on with the serious injury. We can have, in these cars, we can have 140, 160 mile an hour hit and have drivers walk out and not have an injury. And it's truly from the way the cars are designed and been built and where we've gotten today with technology.
Can you talk about maybe some of the differences between the feeder series and the IndyCar, minor adjustments you have to make when you approach a scene?
Very little as far as what's going on in the driver cockpit, and I think that's by purpose. You know, I think that the USF2000s and the Pro 2000s and even Indy Lights, you know, they want things to transfer as the drivers move up the ladder. Yep. So the inside, the steering wheel, how it comes off, it's all the same. Some of the plugs are differently. They just changed the plug-in on the drivers in the Indy car, so they're plugging in at their hip instead of up here, so their wires are up and out of the way. We need to know if we need to get them out, that we need to either cut those wires or unplug them. They get taped during races so they don't get unplugged accidentally, and we understand that. You know, we have seen a lot of drivers come through the series, and for the most part, I think they have an appreciation to see a familiar face, especially when it's a rough time, and know that we've got the situation under control. We've got a system that goes beyond our initial response, but all the way to the infield care center, to the trauma center, and even after they've had their initial care, getting them back to Indianapolis or back to their hometown and making sure that the proper care is delivered and get them back on their feet as quickly as possible.
Well, I can certainly tell you from the driver's standpoint, we appreciate everything that you guys do here with the AMR safety team. So thank you very much for this overview of what it is that you guys do at the track, and hopefully I won't see you on track.
Well, hopefully you'll have a good time. We'll all get to watch a good race. That's how it works.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Victorious at Mid-Ohio. Smart coming through that corner.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The racetrack is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
For 15 seasons, the Castrol Toyota Racing Series has led the way in New Zealand motorsport. With 170 drivers and 276 races so far, the graduates have made their mark in international motor racing. This is the pathway for the world's young drivers. And this series hits the racetracks of New Zealand for 5 weeks every year on the quest to find the next world champion.
Hello, my name is Rasmus Lind. I'm driving the number 10 Juncos Racing in Indy Pro 2000. Yeah, I'm born in Kullavik outside Gothenburg. It's a quite small town, but we're not so many people, but it's good. The country is very clean and stuff, so but I would say like it's very close to America. A lot of things, it's quite similar.
Tires getting set to go. It's the competitors in Indy Pro 2000. We're going to go a little bit early here. These drivers are on the grid and ready to fire things up. Excited for this race. It's been interesting. The pole sitter's been able to take the win in both Indy Lights and in USF 2000. We'll see if it happens here as well. In Indy Pro 2000, our final race of the day, let's have a look at the grid. 12 drivers getting set to go. 13 make that here in this category, starting on the inside of row number 7, the driver from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, now living in Chicago, Antoine Camo in the number 3 for Turn 3 Motorsports, coming off a very strong performance at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway on the oval. Antoine starting in the 13th spot here today. Moving to row number 6 on the outside, Matt Round-Garrido in the number 27 for BN Racing. He began the season in USF 2000, making the move up here to Indy Pro here for Portland, ahead of what will likely be a 2020 program with the team in Indy Pro 2000. He'll start in the number 27 P12. Inside of that row, a team definitely looking forward to the 2020 season, Abel Motorsports. The number 51 of Jacob Abel starting in the 11th position. Had some great runs throughout the season, a better qualifying for race number 2 as well. Look for Jacob Abel in the 51 to move forward from P11. On row number 10 from the outside, from Texas, it's Corey Enders for D-Force Racing in the number 7. He'll start 10th. And on the inside, from Russia, now living in Los Angeles, Nikita Lastashkin in the number 80 for Exclusive Autosport, starting in the 9th position. We'll look at road number 4 now on the outside from Mexico. Moises de Oliveira in the other D-Force Racing entry. Moises de Oliveira in the number 6, starting in 8th. And on the inside of road number 4, starting 7th, a little deep for the driver who leads the points right now, Rasmus Lind for Juncos Racing, the rookie in the number 10 machine, 2 times the winner this year. Your point leader coming into the event. He will be attacking from the inside of row number 4. Lind's got to get moving forward quickly if he wants to hold this point lead as we head to Sunday. Road number 3 now on the outside. Great qualifying run for Antonio Saravalli, the young Canadian from Ontario, in the number 11, racing with RP Motorsport and Newman Walks Racing. Saravalli starting in the 6th spot. On the inside for Exclusive Autosport, 2 times the winner this year on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, as well as the streets of Toronto. From Singapore, Daniel Frost in the number 68, starting in the 5th position. Road number 2 on the outside, multi-time winner in USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000, Parker Thompson from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. 3rd place in points right now in the number 8 machine for Abel Motorsports, starting P4. Inside of that row, one of the 2 drivers in the top 2 rows from RP Motorsports Racing, the Russian Artem Petrov, and very impressive here this weekend. Petrov in the number 5, starting in the 3rd position. 13 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row, and the 1 will start on the outside on a run right now. He's won 6 of the last 7 races from Jupiter, Florida, looking to try to take the point lead here today in that great machine, the beautiful Mazda Soul Red machine. Last year's USF 2000 champion, Kyle Kirkwood in the number 28, starting in the 2nd position. But the driver who had the speed in qualifying, he'll start on the pole position. He's a driver for the Pacific Northwest from Payette, Idaho, in the Juncos Racing number 2. It's Stingray Robb on the pole position, a 106.474. Stingray Stingray Robb on the pole position today in Indy Pro 2000. Robb and Kirkwood on row 1. Petrov and Thompson on row 2. Frost and Saravalli on row 3. Lint and Delavera row 4. Listoshkin and Enders on row 5. Abel and Round Garrido on row 6. And Antoine Camo on row number 7. Final race of the day. 13 drivers are ready to fire things up and head to this racetrack to go racing. Again, the third Road to Indy event we've had here today. 3 more coming tomorrow. Indy Lights to run before the Portland Grand Prix, and both Indy Pro 2000 and USF2000 on track after we cap off the IndyCar festivities. Great place to be if you don't want to be in traffic. Stay tuned and stay around to watch these drivers head at it again tomorrow afternoon. So ladies and gentlemen, we are about set to go. Again, 13 drivers waiting for my command to bring their engines to life. 280 horsepower, Tatis PM18 chassis. All the drivers on all their cars shod with Cooper tires. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time to get things underway. On behalf of Cooper Tires and Allied Building Products, drivers, start your engines! And away we go, engines coming to life. Todd Lewis, time to go racing with Indy Pro.
Sure is, Rob, and we are looking forward to our final event of the day in the Cooper Tires Indy Pro 2000 race number 1 here as part of the Grand Prix of Portland. Stingray Robb and Kyle Kirkwood are alongside on the front row. What kind of a race will it be for Kyle Kirkwood? Currently chasing Rasmus Lind in the championship, only a handful of points behind, but on a roll with a total of 6 wins on the season. Lind has had his struggles and has had that lead shrink just a little bit. He will start 7th on the grid. How aggressive will he be to try to make up positions? How aggressive will he be looking to move forward quickly? How aggressive will he be trying to make his way through the Shelton chicane for the first time as he starts deeper in the field on the inside of row number 4? While the man chasing him in the championship, Kyle Kirkwood, is starting on the outside of row number 1. And how will Kirkwood handle the start as well with Stingray Robb, who has shown plenty of speed through the weekend? How aggressive will Kyle Kirkwood be? Will he allow Stingray Robb to perhaps take that position and settle in second, understanding that the championship fight is a bigger one than race number 1, but every driver wants to get every position possible? Artem Petrov, Parker Thompson on row 2. Parker Thompson has shown speed this year, picking up a couple of victories in the Pro 2000. Will he be aggressive, looking to get a 3rd victory? Versatile driver, smart driver, a strong driver. Will he make that jump forward? Going to be interesting to watch and see how they all line up and how aggressive they are. We saw a little bit of action in our USF 2000 race number 1 just prior to this, going through the Shelton chicane. Number of cars, little touch, a little maneuvering, some move back and forth. Rob Howden, who's rejoined me now, what will we see this time?
For me, the interesting thing is there's so many different storylines, each personal storyline. Stingray Robb, his 3rd year in the series, starting from the pole position. He would dearly love to get that first win. He is going to be aggressive, I believe. Kyle Kirkwood knows that his championship challenger, Rasmus Lind, is back in 7th position. He doesn't really need to be that aggressive right now. If he's able to hold a spot in front, he's probably going to take over the point lead with 3 races to go. His teammate Artem Petrov came in, this is only his 2nd weekend here running. He doesn't really care. He's just going to try to win races. Drivers will set up. Let's see what happens. As I said, so many different storylines. Stingray Robb will set the pace. He is your pole sitter. Kirkwood on the outside. Petrov and Thompson on row 2. Frost and Saravalli on row number 3. Beautiful lineup as they work their way down here. Again, Stingray Robb setting the pace, looking for that flag, and we're underway. Green, 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 and down to the bottom goes Stingray Robb. Here they come in to Shelton chicane for the first time. Oh, a couple drivers pounded over top of the curb. We've got contact. I think Kirkwood's going to take the lead, believe it or not, folks. Yes, Parker Thompson involved. A number of drivers trying to go back around. We'll definitely see a replay of that, but someone overzealous, and this happened so many times last year. Who comes out unscathed? Kyle Kirkwood. Unbelievable. Let's have a look at the replay as they're working there that opening lap. We'll give you an update when we can, but here's the replay. They'll go 3 wide early on. Stingray Robb gets hammered from behind. I got to pick up the number of that car. I might have been Daniel Frost. No, it was Artem Petrov. Ooh, I don't like that. That's the teammate for Kyle Kirkwood. Petrov just drove right into the back of Stingray Robb coming into the braking zone. Absolutely pile-drived him. And you don't want to see that at all. You could see Stingray Robb had the position. He was positioned not to the inside. Kirkwood was looking to the inside. And as he's just braking, getting ready to turn in, he gets drilled from behind by Petrov.
As they come across the line for the first time, it is Kyle Kirkwood out in front. Rasmus Lind was a beneficiary, though. He's jumped all the way from 7 up to 3rd. Those two championship contenders are in close proximity.
As they run on the racetrack, based on the points we're seeing on live timing, Kirkwood would take the lead by 4 points, but Lind definitely getting the benefactory of that. Frost moves up to 2nd as well. Sarah Valley in 4th. Abel 5th. Lastashin 6th. Thompson had to take the escape route through the kind of chicane barriers to come through. You can't just blow through the chicane. You have to take that penalty. Stingray Robb comes across the line in 8th. Moises De Oliveira 9th, and Matt Round Garrido in 10th. You can be sure that race control will be looking at that one, but man, what a shame for Stingray Robb. Got a great start, positioned the car exactly where he should have. Kirkwood was looking to the inside, but was not going to do anything crazy. And he just got absolutely drilled from the back by Artem Petrov. The car just looping around before I don't think he even started putting turning input into the car yet when he got hit.
No, it looked like Petrov had driven too deep before and almost realized what he has done as they were reaching corner number 1.
You hate it when it's the teammate of the driver who ends up coming out on the other side with the bonus, but I don't think that would have played really into it because, again, really what this had done, it would have been better team-wise even if Stingray Robb were to have led, because there's no way that Rasmus Lind would have closed to 3rd that early. So again, Kirkwood leading, Frost 2nd, Lind 3rd, Saravalli 4th, and Jacob Abel in 5th right now. And as they run on the racetrack, it's a 3-point lead for Kyle Kirkwood.
Mentioned that Rasmus Lind was the beneficiary. Jacob Abel, who is all the way up to 5th, he started 11th. Again, as we talked about how you approach the start, depending on where you are lined up in the field. If you're a little further back, sometimes it's better to just stay back just a little bit and let what happens in front of you play out and then find your way through. We saw the cars as they came to the green, they were tightly bunched, and we had another one going off track on the back part of the course.
Driver having some trouble going off here in turn number 10, coming back on. We'll try to pick up a number for you there of who actually went off. But indeed, that was the issue, and a great call for Rasmus Lind. I would have done the same. Breathe a little early, get off the throttle, and let things, especially when you see things happening in front of you. Everybody piling to the inside. You can see the brake smoke, and of course, you're trying to get off a little bit. Trying to figure the driver involved in that incident. That might have been Petrov. I think it could have been Petrov that went off potentially in the number 11. Corey Ender's already in the pit lane. Antoine Comeau as well appears to be down a lap. We'll see if Antoine coming back around.
Look at how Stingray Robb has decided he's going to approach this race. Just ripped off the quickest race lap so far, a 1:08.4. He is the only driver to get into the 1:08s.
Yeah, Stingray Robb's going to put his head down and work his way forward. No yellow flag at all involved in any of the incident we've had so far. It looks like Antoine Comeau coming into pit lane, then back out. He's lost a lap. Corey Enders did the same, into pit lane and back out. Artem Petrov, the driver who struggled going through turn number 10, ended up going 4 wheels off in the grass, wasn't able to get the car turned into turn 11 and 12. He went 4 wheels off and was able to bring it back on. So, well, a little bit of excitement, some chaos for sure to get things underway, but the yellow flag staying in the flag stand, and we are clean and green still. Kirkwood, Frost, Lind, Saravalli, and Abel. The gap between first and second, 0.8 of a second. And you know what? Maybe a bit of a sleeper, but let's not count out Daniel Frost. He's won 2 races this year, one on the oval, one on a street course. You win here on this natural terrain road course, and he's got the trifecta, which would be impressive for Daniel, only his 2nd year here on the road to Indy. Kyle Kirkwood, though, as I said, he did this so many times last year in USF2000 where he may have qualified 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever it may be, great qualifier. But he just didn't make the mistakes, let the other guys around him make mistakes. And so many times the smoke would come up and he'd be the guy that would come out the other side absolutely unscathed, and does it again here today. Even right behind him was Parker Thompson, right? Parker was on the outside, nowhere to go for him. Tough one again. Artem Petrov getting into the back of Stingray Robb. Stingray trying to close up on Nikita Lastishkin now, though.
For Kyle Kirkwood now, it's just about head down, focus on the job ahead of you. Just run those consistent laps. Understand that everything that's taken place has really benefited you, but now it's about maintaining that consistency throughout the rest of the remaining 25 laps.
But that's Kyle Kirkwood's specialty. Like, you just can't hand it to him on a platter. Open racetrack, a car that's not good yet but is going to be good. He knows that's going to happen. He's going to be able to work his way forward. Looking at one of our cameras here, one of our AMR safety team members coming out and grabbing a piece of bodywork off the front straightaway, so no issue with there. Didn't have to go yellow. But that's Kyle Kirkwood's specialty. You give him an open racetrack like that, and he's going to run away. It's just what he does. He's got so much experience through the karting ranks and all the stuff. He's represented Team USA a number of times at major events. He's a national champion karter. Won the F4 championship as well, won the F3 championship last year, won the USF2000 championship. Championship caliber driver following in the footsteps of Oliver Askew. They're very good friends, kind of came through the same driver development program in karting. And now we're seeing a great battle here. Look at Antonio Saravalli going to work here on Rasmus Lindh. Saravalli, who had his best finish of the year, 4th in Toronto, his home race, Todd. He's starting to put some pressure on your point leader.
Sure is. And you wonder with Rasmus Lindh, though he did manage to slip his way up from 7th to 3rd in that first lap incident, you wonder what happened. Was there some sort of a bump that he survived and endured? Is the car still in 100% perfect condition?
Let's give you a kind of a connection to NTT IndyCar Series. We hear a lot of the times when teams will have a technical alliance with a certain operation. Michael Shank, or Meyer Shank Racing, having a technical alliance with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. The Saravallis own their own car. This is the car they bought themselves. Antonio's father, Peter, bought the car. They ran with Jay Howard Driver Development earlier. They have formed a technical alliance with RP Motorsports USA, which of course Kirkwood and Petrov's team, who have shown so well. They got the car. They helped them with setup. They're actually working with the guys at Newman Walks Racing as well. It's actually under their tent here this weekend. They've done a lot of prep to the car, kind of raised the game in terms of prep. And if there's any technical connection, if they've got a setup similar to that of RP Motorsports, that's probably why we're seeing Saravalli get up there. The kid can wheel it around. He's driven shifter karts. He was a Canadian shifter kart champion, went and ran shifter karts in Europe and Italy as well. He can wheel a cart, and to have this thing the way he needs it to be, the way maybe he likes it more than it was before, we're seeing maybe a new Antonio Saravalli.
You want to see the improvement. You want to see the growth in these series all through, and that's what we've been able to point out and acknowledge through a number of these different racing series. Saravalli still within just a couple of tenths of Rasmus Lindh, who is 3rd, jumped up from 7th at the start. Daniel Frost 2nd, and Kyle Kirkwood out front. He has stretched out his lead just a little bit, about a 1.5 seconds now on Daniel Frost, as we have 7 laps completed, all under green. We did have the contact, the spinning cars at the initial start of the race, making their way through the Shelton chicane, but we did manage to stay green, no yellow thrown.
Well, and there's the issue right now. Top 5 drivers were essentially those that were able to get through unscathed. This is just the top 5. Stingray Robb has worked his way back to 6th position, but he's over 9 seconds behind that front-running quintet because, of course, he got looped around, had to get the thing refired, get back on the track. He lost about 10 seconds getting himself going again. Parker Thompson already out as well here in the number 8 machine. Tough one for Parker. 5 laps in it. He took that car to pit lane. He'll be back again tomorrow afternoon. Tough for Parker because he was most definitely in the championship battle. He finds himself now with 268 points, significantly behind Kirkwood now, which is obviously super tough. Essentially 80 points out of the championship. And after this race is done, we only have, I want to say, 99 points up for grabs in the remaining 3 races. So Parker Thompson, who's already won a championship in the Canadian Touring Car Championship in an Audi R8, still has another one to try to race in the Porsche Challenge, the Canadian Porsche Cup Challenge program. Not going to happen, I think, this year in Indy Pro 2000 for undoubtedly one of the most talented young Canadian drivers we have right now in motorsports. Watching the battle continue here as they work their way up the front straightaway. Look at this fight. This is Lindh and Abel, I believe. Or is that... Going to pick that back up. That's the fight. That's one of the... That's Stingray Robb and Nikita Lastishkin, I believe. Going to pick up these cars because you got the exclusive Autosport cars battling it against the against the drivers from Juncos Racing. Stingray Robb in the number 2. 7 seconds now behind Abel. It was 9 seconds a couple of laps ago. Look how quick he's turning some pretty good lap times. I believe that's Rasmus Lint and Jacob Abel. Saravalli's gone by for 3rd. That's indeed, okay, that is Saravalli into 3rd, and he's flat checked out because obviously the pass he made held up Lint a little bit. Lint now battling with Jacob Abel. So Saravalli to 3rd in the number 11. Rasmus Lint now in 10th. There's Lint there. Jacob Abel. What a great run for him. Best we've seen him run, putting the pressure here on the current point leader, 2-time race winner this year. Further back, Stingray Robb still coming. Stingray Robb might not be done for a podium here, and that would be absolutely unbelievable. He's putting fantastic laps down, quicker than everybody but Kyle Kirkwood. So Robb probably got the red mist on a little bit now after the issue. Started on the pole. Great opportunity for him to grab his first Road to Indy and Indy Pro 2000 victory in contact heading into turn 1. Looped him around, taking him out of the lead and putting him significantly back. As we look at the leaders now, right now, as they run point-wise, 348 points for Kyle Kirkwood. 342 for Rasmus Lint, running now in that 4th position on track, 2nd in points. A 6-point difference. You got to go down to Parker Thompson. We said he was off track, but he's showing back on the track again. Live timing messing us up there a little bit. We'll try to pick him up visually. Is Thompson still on the lead lap? It had showed us that he was down a couple of laps.
Looks like he's a lap down. Looks like he is 1 lap down.
Indeed, he is 1 lap down for Parker Thompson. Parker with 272 points. Actually, Daniel Frost would move into 3rd. Yeah, at 279 points. So right now, Daniel Frost running 2nd on the racetrack would move to 3rd in points. Parker Thompson, I believe, running right behind. Now they've got Parker back on the lead lap. They are just messing us up here. Live timing, messing with our heads a bit. We'll see if we can't get things dialed in visually for you. Got to give props to Antonio Saravalli up to P3. That's him right there, Saravalli. There's Rasmus Lint. Then we've got the 2 Abel cars. Yeah, Parker Thompson's still on the lead lap. For some reason, live timing told us that he was 3 laps down, then 1 lap down. He's actually closed up on his teammate. Parker Thompson's going to go side by side with his teammate Jacob Abel down the straightaway. Parker Thompson to the inside going to turn number 9. Jacob will be wise to give this one up. He's got the inside to D. Parker Thompson goes to P5. So here I am saying that Parker Thompson's out of the race. And indeed, just working his way back forward. Parker Thompson up to 5th.
Little difficulty with the timing and scoring, but sorted out now, and Parker Thompson will accept it, who has climbed all the way back up to 6th after those earlier struggles, and now has Jacob Abel in sight.
Stingray Robb into pit lane, folks. Stingray Robb has rolled that Juncos Racing number 2 down pit lane. The only thing you can think about the contact would be something with the gearbox, if they got in the back of the gearbox actuator or something, but tough one to see Stingray Robb pull into pit lane. He'll start off pole tomorrow, but such an opportunity to grab that first race win. He's shown such good speed all weekend long, and just that unfortunate contact into turn number 1 really has ended his day early.
That's frustrating, especially since after the initial contact and spin and sorting himself out, Stingray Robb was putting in some of the quickest laps of the race in the early going and really managed to charge his way back up through the field for a few spots.
Well, so what we're seeing now, if you want to really look at a battle on the racetrack, Parker Thompson is flat out the fastest driver on this racetrack right now. He is only 6.1 seconds back. We have 17 laps to go at a 30-lapper, and Parker Thompson in the number 8, fastest driver on the racetrack, a 107.5. He was 0.3 quicker than Kyle Kirkwood last time by. He is trying to close up here on Rasmus Lint. It's actually 16 seconds back in total. Live timing is updated for us completely. 16 seconds back for Parker Thompson. A win is not going to happen unless we go full course yellow, and of course watch him just start to peel his way up there as I say that. But he could get to Saravalli. There's no doubt about it. He was almost a full second faster than Saravalli last time by. Lots of laps.
We haven't even reached the halfway portion of this race yet. And Parker Thompson just a little over a second behind Rasmus Lindh. Sarah Valley is a possibility as well. And this will be the items that you want to watch through the second half of this race, is how the drivers and how they bounce back from those issues that they had at the start of the race. Jacob Abel got a nice boost, moved up forward. He has lost that one position to Parker Thompson, but still in a pretty good spot. Rasmus Lindh, I'm interested to see whether or not Parker Thompson can run him down and whether or not he can still benefit from that great start.
I would love to see under the helmet, under the visor of Parker Thompson right now. I bet you he is steaming and he is fired up and he is driving this thing with everything he's got. Parker's a pretty level-headed guy, and if you ever meet Parker in the paddock, many will tell you he's probably the best driver outside the car. He's so personable, he's so well-spoken, does a lot of stuff for charity, has his own texting and driving, anti-texting and driving campaign, Drive to Stay Alive. He does a lot of personal speaking. Great kid, very talented driver, but man, you can always poke the bear. And I think Parker Thompson's up on it right now. Let's see what he's able to do speed-wise. He is closed right up now on Rasmus Lindh. Turned to 107.9 a couple laps ago. 109.2, dropped it off here. I'm not exactly sure why he dropped off that far. 107.9 at one point was his pace. Currently running in that 5th spot. He's only 6 seconds behind Saravalli. Still a long way to go. We are not even to the halfway point, as Todd had pointed out. There's your leader coming through.
And that's Kyle Kirkwood just posting the new fast time of a 107.48. So Kyle Kirkwood with the car right at the halfway point now, finding it right in the sweet spot in terms of handling and performance, is beginning to egg out a bigger lead of over 6 seconds on Daniel Frost.
And he will gladly take that bonus point as well in terms of this battle. We had said that Stingray Rob had come into pit lane. I believe he has come back onto the racetrack. I think that's Stingray Rob indeed just in front of your leader, Kyle Kirkwood. Stingray back on the racetrack, currently running in the 9th spot. And again, he's in the middle of a championship battle as well. Not so much for the win, but he wants a spot in the top 3 potentially. He's got 254 points. Parker Thompson with 277 and Daniel Frost with 279. We'll continue to watch these the points as they update. Parker Thompson looks to be on live time, and we'll try to pick this up again. Has he been able to get by Rasmus Lindh? Drivers working their way down the front straightaway. That's Kirkwood rolling by. We'll watch them come through the Shelton chicane here. There's Stingray Rob, almost a lap down. Kirkwood coming through. Look at the gap for Kirkwood back to Daniel Frost, the driver from Singapore for Exclusive Autosport, running in the 2nd position. Saravalli runs in 3rd. Live timing back and forth between Rasmus Lindh and Parker Thompson.
Thompson did get Rasmus Lindh on that last lap. He's moved up to 4th now, and will have Saravalli in his sights.
So working through turns number 7 and 8 as they come through out of turns, that 4-5 combination through 6, 7, 8. Here comes the field through. Here's Saravalli in the red number 11 machine. We'll get a good look at the field as they come through. There's Parker Thompson. Indeed, Parker Thompson has made his way by. He's 4th. That's Rasmus Lindh 5th. 6th now, I want to say, is Jacob Abel. The driver coming through there was one of the lap cars, I believe, of either Corey Enders or Moises de Oliveira. So indeed, Parker Thompson has worked his way into 4th. We will continue to look at the gap between 3rd and 4th. We'll look at lap times. Parker Thompson to see if he can't fight his way back up onto the podium. But that would entail having to reel in Antonio Saravalli. Saravalli across the line, 6 seconds behind Daniel Frost. Thompson further back still. Definitely not relying on live timing to give you splits. We're having some issues with it here. You'll see it better on the racetrack. There's Saravalli, and there's Parker Thompson. There's that big gap between 3rd and 4th. We'll look at lap times. That's back to 5th. So Thompson, indeed, quite a ways back now. Live timing says 7.3 seconds. I'd almost believe it. Saravalli actually running some pretty good lap times, very similar to that of Daniel Frost, a 108.5. Saravalli looking for his first ever podium finish here on the road to Indy. Ran a couple races last year in Indy Pro 2000, did not complete the season. Again, it's been kind of a disjointed program for him this year, running first with Jay Howard Driver Development with the car they bought themselves. moving over to with a technical alliance with RP Motorsport USA. Saravalli across the front straightaway here. Here's Parker Thompson trying to reel him in. 108.4 last time by for Saravalli. For Thompson, we'll look at lap times for Parker Thompson when he comes across the line as well. But 108.4. In fact, Saravalli quicker than Daniel Frost. Thompson's backed it off to a 109 flat. Nikita Lastishkin running in 7th. Moises De Oliveira 8th. Stingray Robb 9th. Those drivers 2 laps down, or 1 lap down each at one point. De Oliveira still on the lead lap. I think 8 drivers in the lead lap, and I want to say Stingray Robb potentially still on the lead lap in front of Kirkwood. We haven't had a good visual whether or not Kirkwood's been able to get by Stingray. So indeed, Stingray Robb still holding on to the lead lap. Kirkwood with an 8.4 second lead. He can bide his time. He knows how quick the guy in front of him is. He knows it's not a lap car. He knows it's the driver qualified on pole. If anything, you can use him as a rabbit right now. Match his speed. There's no need to go by. If indeed Frost gets a bit closer, I'm sure a conversation would happen between the teams saying, hey, can you get him to move out of the way for us?
That's the conversation that will occur. His team will be keeping him updated with the final third of the race.
But remember, Stingray Robb, actually the teammate for Rasmus Lindh, who's in the championship battle with Kyle Kirkwood. So maybe you move over maybe that just won't happen.
I doubt he's going to put the signal on and move over and allow Kyle Kirkwood by. But this is the other part as we get into the final third of this race now, is Rasmus Lindh, who did pick up a number of spots at the start of this race. He has to assess what his car has in this final third of the race. Can he push and try to get back in front of Parker Thompson, who is now about a second and a half ahead of him in these final 10 laps or so? The same thing with Saravalli, who had a nice game. Antonio Saravalli, who started 6th and finds himself in a podium position, also has a nice gap between himself and Parker Thompson. How hard does he have to push? That's the instruction he's going to be receiving from his team. Is he gaining on me? Do I have to push a little bit harder?
He'll get the split every time for sure back to Parker Thompson. What I find really interesting is Parker just laid down a 107.3. Might be the fast lap of the race. If not, it was the fastest lap turned by anybody of that last lap, a 107.3. He did a 109 flat before. I'm wondering whether something potentially damaged on the car of Parker that's stopping him from turning consistently good laps. He's able to get some magic laps in, a 103. He goes back to a 108.7 this time by. It's interesting. I look forward to talking to Parker afterwards to find out if there was any damage to the Able Motorsports machine. Kirkwood continues to stay just about 4, maybe 6, 5 or 6, maybe more car lengths behind Stingray Robb. No need to pressure, as I said. He's got a pretty big lead, almost 10 seconds now to Frost. Again, don't get too close to get the aero wash on the front wing and potentially drive off the racetrack. But again, just try to stay in the mirrors. I don't think Robb's going to let him go by at all.
And there's no need for Kirkwood to challenge him either. It's just simply maintain speed, leave yourself a little bit of a gap to get maximum performance from the bit of aerodynamics that you do have. You don't want to get into the dirty air, cause yourself to go wide into a corner, creating more problems that you have in these final 9 laps.
So, listen, we saw this last year in USF2000, Kyle Kirkwood winning the championship. He resets the single-season victory record, comes out of the gate in the first number of races, and the first 5 races, has some issues. Parker Thompson wins the first 2 races. You know, we go to the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Rasmus Lindh steps up. He wins a couple of races. And in both St. Petersburg and the race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, opening lap front wing damage sends Kyle Kirkwood to pit lane. New wing, comes back out. He has some issues. One race he gets docked for a jump start, has to go to the tail of the field after starting off pole. Horrible for, again, a lesser driver, with lesser control of his mindset. Maturity may have started to crumble at that point. We go to the oval as well, and Daniel Frost ends up winning at the oval. The RP guys were pretty good. Kyle had a decent result, but Daniel Frost wins. And then he goes to Road America and wins. And then he wins, and then he wins, and then he wins. He swept Mid-Ohio. He won at Gateway. He won one of the races in Toronto. He has won 6 of the last 7 races now. We talked about him resetting the single season win record. Could he get 4 more wins and make it, what would that be, 10 wins on the season? I want to say Matthew Brabham has like 13 or 14 a number of years ago, but this kid is on a roll right now.
He certainly is. And by the way, he just set the fastest lap of the race with a 107.3.
Why wouldn't he, right? Kyle Kirkwood in number 28, looking to win 7 of the last 8 races. Again, as I said, just that one issue he had in Toronto, swept Mid-Ohio, won them the Oval at Gateway. It's been an impressive season for Kyle Kirkwood, racking up the wins, having won the championship last year. And you just think of what he's done over the last number of years as well. If he were to win this championship this year, now it's long, we got a long way to go, so there's 3 more races. If he wins, he will have won 4 open wheel championships in 3 years. He won the F4 championship. He won both F3 and USF2000 last year. And he could potentially win Indy Pro 2000 this year. If you want a calling card to walk into an IndyCar team owner and he says, "Let me see your resume," it's here. I don't think you've seen anything like this.
And the streak of extraordinary wins that he went on last year as well, when you combine the series that he was racing in, was remarkable for Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, and the difference in last year is that he really people talked to me about this. He wasn't the dominant driver. He was. Indeed, he was able to win every race, but he was so smart. It's not like he got every pole, and he hasn't got every pole here either. He just is so smart, stays out of trouble, and then goes and races for wins. Did the same thing at Toronto last year. Stayed out of the chaos, was able to pass Igor Fraga late in the race to get the victory. And that's another, maybe a more dominant year this year for Kyle Kirkwood.
That's a characteristic that successful drivers have, though. They find themselves and put themselves in position for race victories. They don't take themselves out of contention by making mistakes. You talked about the consistency that Kyle Kirkwood has shown in running lap after lap after lap. It's also putting yourself in positions to win.
And I also think, too, that when you're in a program like this and you've raced against drivers, because, of course, to come through the road to Indy, you're racing against the same drivers for a number of years. When you can start putting together that reputation, that persona, that the drivers around you know who they're up against. The same thing in the IndyCar program. You know what's going to happen when you're battling with Alexander Rossi. He's not going to give you an inch. He's going to be on the outside of you at any of the ovals. You know that when you're battling with Scott Dixon, somehow he's going to never be flustered. He's somehow going to make fuel mileage. It's just, and that's, I think, what Kyle Kirkwood's developing right now. The rest of the guys in the paddock are looking at Kyle and saying, what do we have to do to win races?
And that's where frustration sets in for the competition as well. As we're winding down, closing towards 5 laps to go, it's Kyle Kirkwood with 11-plus second lead over Daniel Frost, followed by Saravalli, Thompson, and Lind, who is managing, it seems, to hang on to that 5th spot and at least try to minimize the damage in the championship.
Yeah, he's only down 8 points now. And again, Rasmussen, if they were able to, let's put it this way, Juncos Racing has speed. We know that Stingray Robb qualified pole for this race, off pole for the race tomorrow, so they have speed. They'll go over their data tonight, and listen, they're a championship team, Juncos Racing. They'll find more speed for both of their drivers, Lint and Robb, so watch for them to come out fighting again tomorrow. But, again, as you said, P5, not bad for Rasmussen Lint. He limits the damage as they run based on the points that we see here on live timing. Kirkwood would leave the track here today with an 8-point lead over Rasmussen Lint. 348 to 340. Next in line, based on what we're seeing, and these are unofficial times, or unofficial points, Daniel Frost and Parker Thompson tied with 279 points for 3rd in the championship.
So still plenty to be decided in the championship, and these drivers will be just as anxious to find themselves in a positive position tomorrow when they have race number 2. Already qualified for, as you mentioned, Stingray Robb will start on the pole, and they will race tomorrow afternoon following the Indy cars.
Kyle Kirkwood's lead, 11.1 seconds, 5 laps remaining, last race of the day here. It's been a great one, and of course we are looking forward to an awesome race tomorrow. Line them up, stack them, and pack them with great races, Todd. We'll be calling a lot of amazing racing. You, of course, have the schedule there. There's so much racing going on tomorrow. If you're anywhere within driving distance from Portland and maybe you haven't got tickets yet and you're listening to the broadcast or watching it here on Road to Indy TV on the app, wherever it may be, get out here to Portland. This place, there was so much energy around this place just today and even yesterday. Of course, the autograph session for IndyCar was lined up from down to the bridges, this event taking another huge step forward from last year.
It's a wonderful crowd that we have had today. In fact, on Friday as well, a good crowd for our Friday events as well. It starts early tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. with the first race of the day with the MX5 Cup. The gates will open at 8:15. Be here early. We're expecting another large crowd, even bigger than today. Stadium Super Trucks, who had a huge reception earlier today. The IndyCar Series race is in the middle of all of the action tomorrow. That goes green at about 12:40, so you'll get plenty of action in terms of the Road to Indy before with the Indy Lights race, and then following the IndyCar race, it's the Indy Pro 2000 and the USF2000 to wrap up our afternoon tomorrow.
And again, like as I said, if you're here for the IndyCar event, as I'm sure everybody will be, if you don't want to be part of the traffic, just relax. Put your feet up, grab a spot in the grandstands. 2 more races for you after IndyCar tomorrow. That way, when we're all said and done, you'll hop in your car, you'll head out, no traffic at all, and you'll watch some fantastic racing, including the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. 3 laps remaining here in Indy Pro, and Kyle Kirkwood is on a roll. He's looking to win 7 of the last 8 races. What a run it's been so far for the driver from Jupiter, Florida. Clean and green out front, 11.8 seconds. A great run for Daniel Frost as well. I got to give it up for Daniel. He started 5th, stayed out of trouble getting through, able to go to 2nd. Antonio Serravalle would be his first podium. And only his 2nd year here in the Indy Pro 2000 class. Serravalle in the number 11. I guarantee there's lots of people listening back home in Toronto and Markham who are watching this broadcast cheering for Antonio.
And what a boost that is for a driver as well, understanding that you're wanting to improve and make progress as the season moves along. You improve as the weekend moves along. Serravalle starts in the 6th spot. He avoids the difficulties on the opening lap, going through the Shelton chicane, finds himself in 3rd position, and stays there. That's the other part, is he maintains that spot through the race.
Turning really good lap times as well. Parker Thompson starting to close up with his lap times, but Serravalle quicker than Frost right now. And again, Serravalle in a long line of all those great Canadian drivers that got their start at Goodwood Kartway near Toronto. A young driver starting karting there, as so many people did. It's interesting to watch him come through the ranks. And against Antonio Serravalle, P3. Parker Thompson keeps closing. He's down to about 3.4 seconds back, but with just 2 laps to go, rather. Serravalle looks pretty safe in that 3rd position. Kyle Kirkwood, though, must be smiling behind the visor. And what would have went through his mind going into turn number 1? He had tucked to the inside to be safe, kind of defending to the inside. He's got Stingray Rob on the outside. He knows Stingray's got him. He's going to follow him through, and all of a sudden, chaos ensues.
And it's just one of those things that appears in front of you, and you'll see the smile from Kyle Kirkwood, I suspect, after the race. But also, as we've seen often in interviews, an air of calm and confidence as well, which is a real sense of maturity from a young driver.
1 to go. Final lap on the racetrack for Kyle Kirkwood, Daniel Frost, and Antonio Serravalle. Parker Thompson most definitely trying to close, but it's been just a tremendous day here for Kyle Kirkwood in the number 28. Here he comes. He's obviously pulled back a little bit, let Stingray Rob pull away out of the final corners. Onto the back straightaway now comes Kyle Kirkwood in the RP Motorsports Racing entry. Young American driver, still a couple steps away from the IndyCar program, but yeah, you know this kid. Good friends with Oliver Askew. They've kind of followed each other through the ranks. Kirkwood through 9, 10, 11, and 12. Can you believe it, folks? 7 wins in the last 8 races. A roll out of turn number 12. On the throttle across the finish line. The winner today, round 1 of the weekend for Indy Pro 2000, Kyle Kirkwood, victorious at Portland International Raceway. And with the victory, takes an 8-point lead in the championship battle, trying to win the scholarship that will put him in the seat of an Indy Lights car in 2020. And would he take the spot of his friend Oliver Askew at Andretti Autosport? That's a possibility. Kyle Kirkwood with the win, 12.3 seconds the advantage. Daniel Frost, a strong run to 2nd. Antonio Serravalle, what a run. American, Singapore, Canada, top 3 drivers. Parker Thompson, another Canadian there as well. He ends up P4, fought his way back forward. Good recovery from the opening lap chaos for Parker Thompson, the Able Motorsports driver, finishing 4th. Rasmus Lint in 5th. Nikita Lastishkin, solid run to 6th spot. Jacob Abel in 7th. He and Lastishkin with a good fight throughout the race. Stingray Rob what more can you say? Issue and going into the opening corner, hit from behind by Artem Petrov, fell to the tail of the field, stayed on the lead lap. Stingray Rob in 8th position. Moises De Oliveira ends up in 9th. Artem Petrov in 10th. Corey Enders 11th. Antoine Camo in 12th. And Matt Round Garrido out after just 4 laps in the number 27 for BN Racing. But like I said, we hold our breath at the start of any of the events here at Portland. We used to call it the Festival Curves. Now it's the Shelton Chicane. It's a place where you hold your breath because anything can happen. And it's the difference of braking, the turn-in, the wide entry. Well, we definitely had a bit of excitement here in Indy Pro.
Yeah, indeed. That's what we always wonder at the start of this race. It creates great opportunity. It creates great action, but you never know exactly what you're going to see. It's going to depend on not only what you do in the car, but what the competitors do as well. And for Kyle Kirkwood, it worked out beautifully.
Got the Mazda on the suit there, the scholarship last year for winning Indy